Well, good evening and welcome to Dome at Home, special live event coverage of the Martian Eclipse, the occultation of the planet Mars by the Moon. It's nice to be back with you all. I'm your host, Scott Young, planetarium astronomer at the Manitoba Museum, and we're broadcasting here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Treaty 1 territory. And it's good to be back. I've had a couple of shows that have been postponed due to some family issues and stuff like that. Thanks to everybody who sent in well wishes and things like that. Really appreciated. My wife is home from surgery and is doing fine, and everything's going well. So thanks for the concern and stuff. We have a fun thing going on. First of all, it is clear here in Winnipeg, and many of the other places that are observing do not have clear skies. I'm just checking some audio here, make sure that everything is working here. Hey, good. Making sure that all the audio works. Our friends out east are clouded out, and we'll be talking to our friend Chris from the Sunday Night Astronomy Show in just a couple of minutes to chat a little bit about that. We're waiting for the big events. The Moon and Mars are fairly close in the sky. It's nice and clear here, bitterly cold. We're having a little bit of gear trouble, not so much from the operator, but just the knobs get really hard to turn on a telescope when it's minus 30 out there. So we've had a few things there, but hopefully everything will come together. Let's see. So the big event begins just after 9 o'clock, about 9:05 our time, when the Moon will actually occult or cover up the planet Mars, which is a fairly unusual kind of event. And then we'll have about an hour to look at the Moon, and we'll scan around the Moon and explore some things there. And then about 10:15 or so our time, Central Time, we'll have the opportunity to see the planet Mars reappear from behind the Moon. What is this event? Well, it's basically us watching the clockwork of the solar system unfold in front of us. There's a whole bunch of motions that are always happening that most of the time we don't even really pay attention to. Most people don't notice the motions of the sky unless there's some kind of reference point nearby, like sunset. People will watch the sunset and they realize, oh, the sun is going down below the horizon and it's moving. It's been moving all day, though, and they haven't really noticed that because there's no nice reference point nearby to make it easy for them. It's the same thing with the motions of the Moon and the motions of the planets. People won't generally notice that unless they happen to be close to each other, and in this case, really close. So the two of them will be so close that we'll actually see that motion happen in real time. So that's kind of cool. We're actually, if you were wondering why I'm not showing you the telescope view yet, it's because just after 8:30 is when the Moon clears my neighbor's tree. And so I'm watching the telescope, just cautiously waiting for that view to come up. So we'll take a look at the view in just a moment. Before we do that, though, why don't we bring on our friend Chris Kerwin. Chris is one of the host behind the wildly popular Sunday Night Astronomy Show, one of the shows that we sort of look to emulate when we put Dome at Home together. How you doing, Chris?
Doing great.
Are you out there? Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah.
I can't quite hear you. But that's not your fault. That's my fault.
Okay.
Having some audio monitoring problems. Let me get my monitor turned off and then turned back on again. Okay, now say something.
Hello.
Okay, well,
Still
for whatever reason, I'm not able to hear Chris very well at all.
Oh.
Let me just see if I can fix that. This is the, I think this is one of the great things. If you haven't seen the Sunday Night Astronomy Show, I'll just talk as I try and turn on his microphone. There's more than one person involved, and I think that gives them the edge in being able to make the magic happen. So. Okay, let's see. Let's try that, Chris.
Hello there. Hello, Scott.
It looks like you are coming through to the crowd, but I can't hear you.
Oh.
Well, I can listen to you over this way. Okay. Yeah, well, I'll just plug my headphone into here. There may be just a little delay, but that's okay. We'll get things going. So,
Okay.
sorry about that. So, Chris, just tell us a little bit about what you do out there east.
Sure. Well, we look at cloudy skies a lot. Atlantic Canada is quite popular for cloudy skies. It's a tough hobby to be in this part of the world. Um, I mean, you have the cold, but we have the clouds. So yeah, it says, "Hi, Scott and Chris. Scott, you're echoing." It says. Okay. Anyway, um, we're uh, we're enjoying the night skies out in this part of the country, of course. I have a page called Astronomy by the Bay, and that's where I started out. I guess a little bit over 5 years ago now. But then we found out through COVID that we could go live on Zoom, or at least broadcasting from our location. So we started a program called the Sunday Night Astronomy Show, and I am joined by two other members of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada as well, Paul Owen and Mike Powell. And the three of us put the show together. Of course, I have to include Rosanna Armstrong as well, as she puts together a good segment of our show. And we offer the program every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Atlantic time. It usually runs into an hour to maybe an hour and a half program. It's a very relaxed atmosphere. It's almost like we're having a little kitchen party talking about astronomy. And we actually started the program up to talk about or to actually show deep sky treasures of the night sky. And we've had, out of 157 episodes now, we've had 3 clear nights on Sunday night. So we had to assume that we were going to take some other approach to it. So we started talking astronomy, telescopes, and we broke it up into segments now. So it's become a segmented type of program with some audience that joins us from different places around the world, which is great. And we're having a great time doing it. So.
That's great. Yeah, I'm just got a little delay here because I'm listening to the stream, but it really is a great show, and I love what you've done with it in terms of not just having what's on in the sky, but somebody takes a look at different kinds of gear, and you've got the binocular highlight. We sort of stole that idea. We've got a couple of keen binocular observers here in our group as well. Ulrika Schreckenberg has come on and done a few of those. And the idea of getting contributions from the community, that's something I really took from you guys as well, because you really do have a great group there of people like sending in pictures and doing all those kinds of things. It's nice to see, quite honestly.
It's highly interactive, and we love that part of the show. We love the audience joining in with us. So, and we do try to keep it as just as relaxed as we're not professional astronomers. We don't expect to be. We're just amateurs that are really having some fun at it and trying to basically open the door up for people that like to come into the hobby. It's our welcoming mat.
Yeah. No, that really helps to bring it down to earth and make it nice and accessible to people, because I think most of the people that, when COVID hit, people were just chomping at the bit for something to do. And as you discovered, as we discovered here, astronomy was one of those sort of safe activities. You can do it outdoors, so that was a safe thing. You can do it with whoever you're quarantined with. And we found a lot of families getting involved, parents and kids and so on, all doing this together. And we even have some folks that, weren't able to get together because of COVID. They were, in different cities even, but they wound up using the show as sort of their way. So they would go out and look at the stars after the show and talk to each other. And, even though you're far apart, we all look at the same sky. And it's really been a nice community that's been built up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
It's been a lot of fun.
I'm going to switch over here to a little look here, and we'll first of all take a look at, here we go. Got to just move a couple of things around here because the telescope is not quite clear, but I want to show you the scope that I'm using here so that you can sort of get a sense of what the view is like. Here is our telescope out in my backyard, and basically it's just a 3-inch refractor, nothing fancy. It's on a fairly sophisticated mount. All my money went into the mounting and not the telescope. You get this fairly small telescope and you get a big fancy mount so that you can theoretically run it inside. That's probably the most important thing that I've found living here in Winnipeg. You'd like to be able to run it from your living room without having to go outside all the time. But just a little telescope, and it's got a couple of cameras in it, and you can see the wires sort of stretching off there. That big blur in the middle there is the moon just starting to peek out from behind the trees, and so we should be getting a view of that fairly soon. We're just a couple of minutes away from getting our first sort of clear view of the moon. Okay, so let me switch back to our telescope here, and we'll come back to Chris in a little while. And Chris, your mic is hot the whole time, so I think you should be able to just chime in anytime you want.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's see. I've got two telescopes set up, and like I say, we're just getting them lined up and ready to go because that tree is just in the way. It's just on my neighbor's side of the property, and we've had discussions about the tree. They really would like to keep it, and I really would like them to not keep it because it's exactly where the planets and the moon rise. It basically blocks that entire area, but it doesn't take too long to clear. Regular Dome at Home viewers will remember all of my issues with all of the trees in the neighbor's yard and things like that. Let me just see how the chat is going here. Okay. Lots of comments, lots of folks saying hi. Nice to see all of our regulars. Oh, lots of folks from New Brunswick. I assume some of the folks of Chris's crowd are here as well. And let's see. Yeah, so we've got, if you're outside here in Winnipeg, totally clear. The moon is nice and full, rising in the southeast, and Mars is just to its left. So it's quite a bright object. And because the moon is pretty much white, the red color of Mars really jumps out. So now's a really good time to check it out with your eye. Once Mars and the moon gets closer together, it'll be harder to sort of see, I think, that color. But now's a really good chance to see that. Just waiting for the telescope view here to kick back in. I had quite an interesting time setting up the telescope today. As you may know, telescopes have knobs and things like that, and those knobs have grease in them. And I don't know where those greases comes from, but they certainly are not designed for a Winnipeg winter. The focuser knob was barely turning, and I think I gave myself frostbite on my fingers trying to tighten one of the bolts to make sure things were lined up. It was a pretty rough setup time. I think we're just starting to clear the trees. Let me just move our telescope around, and we'll bring this back into view here. Which way do we want to go? There we go. Well, that's still just catching the edge of the tree there. You can sort of see behind my head, I guess, the glow of the moon just peeking around the tree. Whoa, was that a... Oh no, that's an airplane in the background. Okay, I thought it was a fireball or a meteor or something like that, but no, it's just a plane. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to get these things all good to go. Okay, oh, for some reason, the telescope is not quite responding as well. I may wind up having to go out there. And so it seems that whenever we do a winter event that's bitterly cold, people love it when I have to go outside and freeze. The last time we did a lunar eclipse, it was the same kind of temperature, and minus 30 degrees. and it was cloudy, but we had our highest ratings ever because people were just there watching me freezing and trying to line up the scope and trying to like peek through the little holes in the clouds and stuff like that. We never got to see the eclipse, but people loved my pain and suffering, so that was nice. But here we're just getting almost clear of the tree, and we'll get this nice and focused. And there we go. That'll help. So you can see we're right on the edge of the tree there, and so in only a minute or so we should be fully clear, and we're still about 20 minutes away from the occultation. So the moon is actually right about here in the sky, and so it'll come out after the whoa, that was interesting. Have to I'm basically connecting to my little telescope computer through the network, and that way I can sit inside and make everything run. But it was giving some cold issues as well. So hopefully, the backup, of course, is that I take my phone and just go stick it on an eyepiece, and that's our backup. So we'll do that if we need to. But just give me a second here, and we will get this reconnected. I hope we will. Hey, Vivian, nice to see you. Yeah, get out your binoculars. If you have binoculars, this is a perfect event to watch just on your own, because the moon and Mars are already in the same field of view of a pair of binoculars. And you really have a great opportunity to see the event. Now, what's cool about this is that the moon moves along, and when it occults a star, the star just sort of disappears completely. But Mars actually has some size to it, and so Mars will take about half a minute to sort of be covered up. And so if you're watching with binoculars, you'll be able to see the object sort of fade out, and that will be nice. Having a significant issue here. And so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to throw things, bring our other scope view back up. I can't even do that. It's okay. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run outside, and I'm going to just make sure that the computer and everything is up and running. And Chris, if you want a little time to chat just a little bit about what you've got coming up for Sunday Night Astronomy Show, if you can just say hello and just tell people what you have coming up, and then I'll be back in just a couple minutes. We'll get the telescope powered up again. Thanks.
Sure. Put me on the spot. Good evening, everybody. So yeah, what we have coming up, we have 2 episodes left before the Christmas break. We are going to take a break. Well, Christmas Day, of course, is a Sunday, and the following week is New Year's Day. So we'll be taking a break on those 2 weeks. But the show coming up this week, actually, we're going to bring in one of our veteran local astronomers, Kurt Nason. And we're adding a new segment to our show, and it's called Constellation of the Month. So we'll be talking about the Orion constellation this week. Kurt is going to join us once a month for one of our programs, and we'll continue along with our other segments as well, our binocular target of the week topics, and your photos and submissions that you submit. We also have a contest going on right at the moment, a Shoot the Moon contest, where we're asking people to submit photos of the moon and of one of the planets, and we give you entries into the contest. So that's going on as well. The other segments, we have a Rosanna's Fun Fact, who Rosanna contributes a segment to our show every week. It's an excellent segment talking about basically activities that are happening this week in space. What else do we have? We have a Paul talks to us about an astro tip of the week, so that's another segment that we offer. Anyway, it's a 1 to 1.5 hour program that's broken up into several different segments. Now, we've kind of learned this over the last 150 episodes on where to take the show, and we're more than willing with the audience to let us know what they would like us to talk about in a future episode. Again, over the last 150 or so episodes, we've only had 3 clear nights that we've actually been able to offer something like Scott's doing here. a live view through the eyepiece of the telescope. So it's been a lot of fun offering it, and we're going to hopefully continue with it in the new year. And here's Scott back.
Great, thanks a lot, Chris. That's the great thing about having somebody else there. You know, I appreciate you coming on to help out there. Okay, so I had to go outside and reboot the little computer that's running all the cameras. So I'm just going to get all those things turned back on, and then we're going to watch this thing. When I went outside, I took a look up. You can see Mars just off to the left of the moon. It's still quite nicely visible. Although as it gets closer and closer to the moon, it's definitely becoming harder to see. So we're not going to worry about setting up all of those different things that I had before. We're just going to get the two main cameras up and running, because we're about 14 minutes away, so that's still plenty of time. The joys of cold weather observing. Okay, so this is our main telescope. We'll just switch over here.
I had heard, Scott, that there's a lot of things that make this event fairly rare as well. I know that.
All right, so let me get this up and running. Yeah, I can see that the camera is giving some weird color things happening there as well, but I think we'll be okay once I get her back up in place here. And we'll get the other camera going. Mental note, next time, just stay outside and freeze. People love it, and makes it easier to deal with this kind of thing. Unfortunately, I have these little glitches, but we'll get things back up for you, and we will get to watch this occultation. Now, people were saying, oh, this is a rare event. It's actually happened quite a few times in the last few years. It's just that most of the time it happens where you don't get to see it. Either it happens in the daytime, or it happens too low in the horizon, or it happens just on the other side of the Earth, and you don't get to see it. So it's not super rare. I mean, the planets, the moon, the sun, they're all basically, the planets and the moon are all basically in the same plane. And so they do tend to come close to each other and even block each other out occasionally. The moon hitting all of the planets eventually at some point. There was an occultation of Uranus earlier this year. And so, you know, this is the kind of thing that happens fairly regularly. I was telling my kids about this, and they were like, and you can predict this? And I realized, yeah, that's kind of one of the big deals, is that, yeah, we know enough about the universe that we can predict these events before they happen, which I guess means we know a little bit about what we're talking about. Okay, I have an image that I can get onto the scope here. Let's get this moved around. There we go. We're not going to worry about making it all fancy. Let me just adjust our exposure here. And we'll just go. There we go. Almost dialed in. All right, okay, look, an image. That's a good start. We have the moon coming in, and it's still just coming out from the tree. And if I adjust the exposure here, we should be able to see Mars quite a bit. I need to make this a little wider. All of my wonderful settings that had everything in the right spot have all been blown out of the water by this. Okay, now if I crank the exposure way up on this wide view, you can kind of see right in about here is where Mars is. There's still quite a distance to go there. We're going to get the bigger telescope into view, and that one will give us a nice sort of close-up of that area. Yeah, this camera does seem to be having some issues with the cold. They're only rated to 0 degrees Celsius, these little CMOS cameras. And you can certainly see that there's, oh, I guess you can't see that one yet. Let me switch over. You can see that we're getting this sort of weird color fringing and all sorts of strange things happening. There we go. We'll get some of it there. If I reduce the exposure and we get a little bit better view here. Wow, this is causing me some trouble here. Well, here, let's go back to this one. There you can see Mars and the moon. The moon is very overexposed, but that's the kind of distance that we're at right now. Nice and close. If you have a pair of binoculars, should be able to spot it. You should be able to spot it even with the eye still. You might have to sort of block some of the bright light of the moon, though, because Mars is quite a bit fainter than the moon. But it gives you, oops, wrong way. Gives you a reasonable view. Now I'm just going to get the other telescope lined up nicely to show the Mars area. And that will give us a nice view at a larger scale. Let's see here. Wow. Yeah, having had the computer reset, it basically has meant that, you know, all of my settings for the motions, the focus, all of that stuff is pretty much shot. So we're going to get this working the old-fashioned manual way. And let's see. Oh, hi, Craig. Craig's asking if Dome at Home is on Wednesday next week. The website says December 14th. You know, that might be a typo. We had a few typos creep through on some of the stuff. And so it is Thursday. So it should be the 15th. So that might be just my mistake, essentially. With my wife coming out of the hospital, I found that the calendar basically got shot, and we were all over the place in terms of what we could see and do. And the date has been rather troublesome. Okay, Eric's asking, does the cold reduce the atmospheric fuzz? Yeah, you know, the best skies are December skies with a gigantic Arctic air mass that just gives you the really, really cold, clear skies. Let me just get this back moved a little closer for you while I get the other telescope centered. There we go. Sorry for the back and forth here, but it will pay off. I find the best skies really are those winter skies, and I think that I prefer winter observing. if only because there's no mosquitoes. You can dress for lots of things, but you can't dress for mosquitoes. Just the noise that they make is enough to just be excruciating as far as I'm concerned. And holy chihuahua. There we go. Yeah, it looks like I've also had some flexure between the two tubes. The scopes are mounted together, and I had them lined up so that when I put the moon in a certain spot on this wide one, it would be perfectly placed on the high magnification one. And I think the cold has just made something contract or something, because it's not where I expected it to be. But we are going to get it here. Let's see, is that the right way? No, this is the right way. Aha.
There it is.
Okay, so yeah, and it seems that the telescope tracking wasn't working either, but now it is. Okay, so let me switch over scopes here, and we'll get this into the right spot so that you can see it. We're still about a few minutes away from the occultation, and so okay, back here. I'm going to adjust our contrast on this just a little bit while the program reboots yet again. Yeah, it's like the computer is just working slower in the cold. I've got a heating pad on it to try and provide a better level of temperature for it to function, but it doesn't seem to be all that happy. So anyway, we have at least that view there, and the other one, if I can get that up, we'll have a higher view as well. So we're coming up to just about a minute and a half away from the occultation, and we'll get our other camera in place here. Okay, so there you can see up at the top, and I'll see if I can make that a little bigger for you. Right in here, there's Mars, and it's coming right up. You can see the moon is moving second by second to move towards it and cover it up. Mars is quite a bit fainter than the limb of the moon. That's I wasn't quite prepared for that, but look at that. Look at how fast it's moving. And now we can see, hopefully, able to see that. Oh no, we're just starting to cover up, and the moon is moving bit by bit. If you can, if you're out there watching with binoculars, I wonder if you can still see it or if it's disappearing, but it looks like the binocular view here, we're definitely disappearing behind the moon very quickly. And just a hair of the moon, of the planet still there, and now it's gone. In that short period of time, the moon has moved enough to cover up the red planet Mars. And this happens all across North America within a minute or so of the time. The folks out, I guess the folks out west have a little bit of time before it happens. But that is the motions of our satellite, the Earth, orbiting, or our satellite, the moon, orbiting the Earth. And The planet Mars, way off in the distance, also moving, but moving such a small amount because of the distance that we just don't notice it. So we have a chunk of time now until the reappearance, which happens on the other side of the moon. What I'm going to do is we're actually going to end the broadcast so that I can do a little bit of technical stuff here, and then we'll reboot as soon as I get the computers lined back up, and we'll do a little tour of the moon, and we can just do some general lunar observing until Mars will reappear. Central time is about 10:16, so make sure you're back here after 10 o'clock, and we'll catch the other side of this. So we're going to sign off for now, and we'll be back in hopefully just a few minutes once I get these technical things sorted out. Thanks, everybody. And thanks to Chris Kerwin from Sunday Night Astronomy Show. Make sure you check out that show. It runs every Sunday at 6 Central Time and is available on Facebook and YouTube. So great show. Thanks again for joining us, Chris. And we'll see everybody soon.
Thanks a bunch.